So can you explain a little more about dividends? Are they taxed like capital gains? So not all dividends are created equal. All right. So when it comes to knowing your what type of dividends that you're getting, you need to log into your account and take a look at what investments you have, right? So if you're, let's say, so there's the qualified dividends, and let me see if I can make another box. And then there's another one that's called non-qualified dividends. Sometimes it's called an ordinary dividends, okay? A qualified dividends, so that needs to be paid by a US corporation or a qualified foreign corporation, okay? So let me see if I can write that. So US or a qualified foreign corporation. A qualified foreign company just needs to meet one of the three conditions. So the foreign company was incorporated in a US possession. The corporation is a part of the income tax treaty with the US, or the foreign stock is traded on the US stock exchange. In most cases, they are. So, if you take a look at Novo, that's a pharmaceutical company from Denmark that is traded on the New York Stock Exchange. So when that company from Denmark pays you dividends, to say you're the shareholder and they pay you dividends, it is considered a qualified dividend because of that reason, because it is being traded on a New York Stock Exchange. And whenever you invest in a foreign stock on the New York Stock Exchange, then the dividends could be categorized as qualified dividends, okay? But make sure you confirm that before you invest. And the other one would be Alibaba. I don't think they pay dividends, but if they did, but because they're listed on the New York Stock Exchange, that's another company that you could have qualified dividends coming in either every quarter, semi-annually, or annually, okay? And you also have to hold a stock for a certain period of time. For common stocks, which is what most of you invest, require you to hold at least 60 days out of the 121-day period, beginning 60 days before the ex-dividend date, okay? So if you meet these requirements, then you're gonna be taxed at 0, 15, or 20% long-term capital gains tax rates. And here's what's considered a non-qualified dividends. So besides not meeting the requirements to be a qualified dividend, you have to understand that not all US companies are corporations, right? So I talked about real estate trusts, so REITs, and master limited partnerships are not structured as corporations for tax purposes. So the IRS, I'm going to write that down. I'm going to use REIT as an example and MLPs. So the IRS considers REITs as pass-through income because at least 90% of their profit a REIT makes is given out to the shareholders as dividends. So that's how the tax is structured in the REIT, in real estate. So REITs are probably one of the most popular investment options in people's portfolios. But if I were to invest in REIT, I would invest it in like a 401k, Roth IRA, or some kind of tax deferred account so that I wouldn't have to pay federal income tax every year for the ordinary income tax, right? And every dollar under non-qualified dividends, it's going to be taxed under the, 10, 12, 22, 24, 32, 35, and 37%. So if you're a high income earner, you need to especially pay attention to how much you get paid in dividends every year. And it doesn't matter if you're reinvesting your dividends right back into the stock in your taxable brokerage account, you still have to pay dividend taxes every year if your stock or stocks are not in a tax deferred investment account. By the way, I am so fired up to announce the launch of my private FIRE community for people just like you and me who are passionate about investing, saving, and achieving financial independence and exploring different possibilities to retire early. My private community will allow you to connect with me on the platform and get in touch with other like-minded individuals or couples who are just as serious as you are with the FIRE movement. As a member of my private community, you'll get resources like investing, saving, paying off debt, or finding the right place to grow your money. And if your entire taxable portfolio, let's say, is in REITs, and then that could hurt you during the tax season with all of the dividend payments if you don't carefully plan for it. So if you have, let's say, 100K in dividends coming in, but that's all going to be taxed under non-qualified dividends, and you're already making, let's say, $200,000 a year, and as a married couple in a 24% tax bracket, this is potentially putting you at 24%. So $24,000 of that is going to the IRS. So you want to plan very carefully. If I were to invest something like REITs to diversify my portfolio, more exposure to the stock market, then I would probably put that into something that's more like tax-free account or tax-deferred account, so that you don't end up paying a lot of taxes on that. So that would be the example of it. But when let's say you have I'm going to lower the numbers because let's be realistic. Let's say you have 20K of qualified dividends coming in. Okay. So that's going to be, let's say you invest in some kind of stock that pays you $20,000 a year in dividend. So if this is a qualified dividend because you've held a stock for at least 60 days out of the 121-day period, and this is a US company or foreign company on the New York Stock Exchange, and let's say your annual income is 100K and you're married, filing jointly, okay? So let's say that's your taxable income. If you add this up together, you're gonna have $120,000 in income. However, because this is taxed as long-term capital gains tax, I'm gonna move it down a little bit, taxed at either 0, 15, or 20%. And because if you're filing your taxes jointly, let's say you're married and you're doing your taxes together, that 100,000 plus 20, this one falls in the 0% category. Fact check me, because I know I'm right. But you could eventually just not pay any tax on the dividend, qualified dividend, because you're under the 0% capital gains tax threshold. So if you're married filing taxes jointly, your threshold is going to be much higher. Remember, when you look at the capital gains tax brackets, it's going to show $94,000, but you need to add the standard deduction to it, because $94,000 is the taxable income. And so you add 94,000 to the 29,200 for the standard deduction, and that's going to give you about $123,000 or $124,000. So this $20,000 could eventually become a tax-free dividend income, either going into your checking account or just reinvest into it. So nerded out a little bit, but yeah, appreciate you asking.